الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته brothers. Sorry boys, I might need you guys to speak a bit louder because I've got a blocked ear right now, fully blocked. So I can only hear with this one. I feel like, you know when you're underwater and you're hearing people above the water, but it's hard, that's how I feel. So like, I don't know if you guys, I can't hear you talk. But anyways, alhamdulillah for everything. You know, whether you've got a blocked ear, whether you've been injured, whether you've received horrible results on Moodle, whether you got in conflict with your parents, whether everything's crumbling right now, whether you got a fine that came last week, contentment, happiness in Islam is the most important thing. Islam comes to give you peace. Unfortunately, we're in a society, in this Western country, in these Western countries rather, that's completely devoid of Islam. And as a result of this, people are constantly traveling up this hierarchy. You know, think about it, right? You go to high school, you've graduated high school, what's the next best thing? Okay, get a good ATAR, what's the next best thing? Go to university, you're constantly competing with each other. You know, trying to get the higher mark. Doesn't matter how you get the higher mark, as long as you get the higher mark. Finally graduate, get into the corporate world. You're competing against each other again and again and again and again and again. And eventually, it doesn't end there. You get the income. Okay, no problem. Is it done? The hierarchy is still not done. You get a family and you get kids and the process repeats for your kids. You compare your child to the other person's child. Has your child went to the better high school? Has your child got the higher marks? And your grandkids until you head right to the grave. This is what this dunya is all about. And unfortunately, almost every single person is sucked into this hierarchy. It's sucked into this process where they're constantly striving for more, but they're not happy. But subhanAllah, Islam comes to tell us that it is in hardship that true peace is achieved. Think about that for a moment. It's literally in the hardship, it's in those struggles where your life is crumbling before your eyes that you can truly feel what? You can truly feel happy, truly feel peace, truly feel content. So brothers, I want to ask you all a question, inshallah. Last week was more me talking. I want us to have more of an open dialogue. How do you reckon we can achieve happiness through Islam? Firstly, why are people unhappy? Let's answer that question first. Why do you guys reckon people are unhappy?
Low iman.
Sorry?
Low iman.
Low iman.
Yeah.
They're unhappy because they have low iman. Why do people have low iman? Worrying about the future.
No tawakkul.
No tawakkul, worrying about the future. How am I going to get enough income? Okay, I want to get married. How am I going to rent? I don't have enough to rent. No, I'm stuffed. Constantly worrying. How am I going to get the marks? How am I going to get this? How am I going to go home today? What am I going to eat? People are too stressed. They're not calm enough. SubhanAllah. That's number one. That's why people lack iman. So how do we achieve happiness? What's the antidote? What does Islam teach us? How do we achieve happiness? Salah through prayer. 100% through prayer. How good do you feel when you come here to the musalla? Brother, are you studying here?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you studying? Science. How good do you feel when you enter this room and you pray? Alhamdulillah, bro. Amazing, yeah? It's
the weight off the shoulders.
Weight off the shoulders. When you're walking around and you see all these people and you're in class for 3 hours, you know you're there. But once you enter here and you put your head on the ground in sujood, the feeling is indescribable. That stress gets off your head and you leave it to Allah. When you go in sujood, when you go in this position, right? This is the closest position you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That position right there, that sujood, is the closest position ever to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us how to achieve peace. Do you know how you achieve peace in Islam? It's by A, submitting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but B, it's by giving for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's have a bit of a think about this. In this country, in this society, this conceptualization of happiness, how do you gain happiness? You need to get more money. You need to have way more money. You need to get better grades. You need to say no to people. You need to stop giving people time. You need to be selfish. You need to get your own house, get your own thing, and then focus on others. Islam says, give and you'll get. It's the complete opposite equation. In Islam, the equation is give, you'll get 10 times more, at least. So for example, if a brother needs help, one of your friends is struggling, one of your friends is struggling so hard, he's been in depression. You sit with him and you say, hey bro, what's going on? Let's have a chat. You know what? Let's grab lunch. I'm going to pay for it. Maybe you're struggling. Maybe that $25 or $50, that's all you have. You pay for it for this guy. Even if he's richer than you, you still bring him with you. You say, what's going on, bro? Speak to me. Listen to him. Understand him. Try and actually give him solutions. Don't give him just these superficial answers of, oh, but it's all right, man. Just keep pushing. It doesn't matter. Actually give him proper advice, proper guidance. Do you know what's going to happen? You know the stress that you're going to go through? The stress you're going to go through? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that easy for you. If you help someone that's younger than you with their studies, especially if you know like some high school kids, etc., you help them with your studies. Like when you're struggling with your studies, and for example, you're not understanding science or you're not understanding engineering or law or whatever you're doing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for you. You don't understand referencing, Allah will make it easy for you. Whatever the thing you don't get, Allah will make it easy for you. When you give charity to someone who needs it, Allah will give you at least 10 times more. So are you ever going to lose? Then why are we so worried about the future? If you know for a fact you're never going to lose, and you know for a fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always going to give you, why are we so worried about the future? It's a rhetorical, obviously, but does that make sense? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has completely sealed our rizq. Our rizq is our sustenance. Whatever Allah is going to give us. It's been completely sealed and written for us. What you're going to get in this world has been completely sealed. It's yours. No one can take it. If you've got a business, you don't need to put other people's businesses down in order for your business to go up. You know the competitive, whatever, blah, 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 that they teach you. You need to compete with the others, make sure that you sell a little bit less, you increase your profit margins. That stuff doesn't exist in Islam. Did you know that? Did you know how they used to do trade and tijara in the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's time? Do you know how the Sahaba used to sell things? Do you think they used to put on marketing videos and try to maximize sales? Do you know what they used to do? Let's say I'm selling this jacket, yeah? This is literally how they'd sell it. Nowadays, with this exclusive technology, with the hybrid fiber, blah, 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 what they will do, here it is. This is the jacket. Take a look, inshallah. And the price is this price, based off this. Tafaddal. Take a look. You're happy? Your rizq's yours. There you go. They didn't advertise. They didn't really speak on it. They just gave it to the person, and the person would look and take it. That's all it was. There was no advertising. You'd never force it. Why wouldn't you force it? Because Allah's already written if you're going to get it or not. You don't need to force someone to get it. Yeah, that's all it was. It was as simple as that, because people knew that what they were going to get, their rizq was predetermined. And how comfortable in your heart are you going to feel when you know what you're going to get is predetermined? When you know that when you're studying in the library and you're putting in effort, brother, sorry boys if I'm being loud, yeah, because like I said, I can't hear myself, so I might be screaming right now. I have no clue. Am I screaming? Am I good? All right. Yeah. When you're studying, for example, yeah, what mark you're going to get has been written for you. You try your best, you tie the camel, you put in all your hard work, but what you're going to get has been written for you. SubhanAllah. So how can one ever lose? How can one feel dissatisfied, unhappy? How's that possible? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always going to give you more than you give. Shaitan might come to you right now and say, look, it's probably like 3:20 right now. 20 minutes in, you could have done this with your studies. You could have been eating a burger. This guy's taking too long. He's screaming. He's probably sweating as well. You're probably thinking, I want to leave. What am I doing here? What a waste of time. He's telling me something I already know. I already know this information. There's no point coming here. When you come to gatherings like this, do you think that you're going to get more barakah or less barakah of your time when you leave? More or less? More. Much more. That's why you do it. Literally, the reason why I rock up here is because I know that if I put in 20 minutes, 30 minutes here, the next 5 hours are going to be the best 5 hours of my life. That's the only reason why I'm coming here. Does that make sense? It's a win-win. You're never going to lose. You never ever will lose. But there's one exception. That if you do this thing, no matter what you do, you're never going to feel happy. And that thing is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter how hard you try, you're never going to feel the peace in your heart. Your heart will feel so dark, so black, so filthy. Because you are transgressing the limits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put on you. What's some examples of this? We all know what's haram, don't we? Everyone knows. Do you need someone to give you a book to explain? Does everyone know what's healthy and unhealthy food? You know, people are like, so can you explain to me if this is healthy or not? You know if it's healthy or not, bro. If you're having lollies, okay, it's not healthy. If it's got chocolate chip cookies mixed with this, it's not good for you. If it's greenery, it's probably good for you. You can create categories. It's obviously, if you're going to go specific, you need someone who knows. But generally, you can make clear categories. Can you tell if something's halal or haram? Generally? You know, of course you know. Okay, if you're with a girl doing blah, 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 can you tell if it's halal or not? Of course you can. You know the clear difference. If you're selling something to someone and you get an extra $30 somehow, you snuck it in, can you tell if it's halal or haram? Of course you know it's halal or haram. You don't need someone to spell it out to you. And if you're doing things like this behind the scenes, maybe by yourself when you're at home when no one's watching you, don't ever think that when you come to these things, you're going to feel peace. You're going to feel very, 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 very empty, very dark inside. And no matter what you do, you won't feel that peace until you repent to Allah. You come to this musalla and you put your head, you prostrate and you say, Ya Allah, I'm never going to do X action ever again. And my brothers, if any of you are doing anything that you shouldn't be doing, and I'm just being very honest with you guys, yeah, because I get a lot of brothers come to me every single day. You know, brothers you won't expect that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And so chances are, most of us are, because we're all sinners. We're all sinners. And so because we are, please make tawbah, pray to Allah, say astaghfirullah, because if you want to feel that peace, that happiness that we're all trying to get, you can't do it while at the same time disobeying Allah. It's never going to work. And do you think that your studies are going to be easy if you're doing something that goes against Allah at the same time? You'll be trying to read a page and it's not going to go through your head. Has that ever happened to you guys? You're reading a page, you're literally trying to understand it. And it's probably pretty simple. It's actually really easy to understand. Like if you woke up the next day and tried, you'll get it, you understand it in 20 seconds. But for some reason right now, your brain it's not conceptualized, it's not working. Chances are when those moments happen, you need to say, what did I do wrong today? Once you clock that and fix that, the page makes sense. Isn't that crazy? One of my friends, he finished the Sharia course up in Medina University, so in Saudi Arabia. He was telling me how the students of knowledge over there, yeah, when they were trying to learn Islam, sometimes Allah would not let them understand a certain thing. No matter how many explanations they ever got, they wouldn't understand. Let's say it's a verse of the Quran, it's a hadith, whatever it was. And it was only till they fixed the sin, the moment they fixed that sin or they repented, they understood exactly, the concept made sense. Because where does knowledge belong to? Who does knowledge belong to? Allah. If you're trying to gain knowledge, Islamic knowledge, but you're doing something wrong, do you think He would give you the permission to learn it? You won't get the permission to learn it. So ultimately, everything comes down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we're here. And so if we want to feel peace, there's a few strategies, inshallah. Number one, what do we say? Make sure that you give from your time, you give from your money, you give from your wealth, and know that you will get. I'm not saying lose. I'm saying give so you can get more, bro. Why would you not want to do that? You only wouldn't want to do that if you don't believe you're going to get more. Which means there's an issue of belief. Because you don't believe it, you're like, it's a loss, I'm not going to do it. Number two, if you're doing something wrong, like I said, brothers, we're all sinners. I do 1,000 wrong things every day, you know? You sit with yourself and you really reflect and ask yourself why and how that happened. And you make sure that never happens again, inshallah, never ever. You stick to it you're resolute, and you make sure it doesn't happen again, inshallah. These two things, if we do these, inshallah, you will feel happy. You will feel peace in your heart. You know, one more thing, I know I've taken a lot of your time, but you know the heart? The heart has two states. This heart that we all have. Sometimes, when we were born, our heart was pure and white. Metaphorically, I'm not, like obviously it doesn't actually look white, but metaphorically, it was spiritually pure and clean. As time progresses, especially in this society over here, it slowly begins to get darkened and darkened and darkened. The extent of darkness depends on you and depends on the person and depends on their upbringing and the life that you lived. But it's either pure or it's on the journey to being very dark. Unfortunately, most of us, probably all of us, fall under the latter, which is the dark part, right? But how dark is it? That depends. Some people are too far, like you can see in people, have you ever seen it in people's eyes when you talk to them? Some people's eyes, you don't feel any mercy when you talk to them. Have you ever met someone like that? No? Yeah, you have? Yeah. You can tell. Like if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you're like, what is this guy talking about? You can see it in someone's eyes if they're sincere or not. I'm being serious. If they've lived a life of anger and wrath and complete disobedience of Allah, or if they've lived a life of regret, remorse, peace, love. Our goal is to, if we are here, to get back to the middle, the wasat. Our goal is to not let ourselves lose our purity. The goal is to get towards being pure again. And it comes down to these Islamic gatherings over here. If we spend time together for the sake of Allah, we're going to become more pure. If we give, we're going to become more pure. If we try to cry when we pray, we get more pure. If we just really genuinely, like I'm saying, if we really genuinely just want the best for our brothers and sisters and we don't try and compete against each other and we actually want to help each other, only then can we become pure and only then can we feel peace in our hearts. Because unfortunately we're in a society, as we said, that it's actually designed. Now you might not agree with me and that's fine, but I believe that it is literally designed to remove your purity. Every single thing, that the way this is structured, is it wants you to become darker in your heart. You've been desensitized from such a young age to such filthy material on the internet. You've only seen information and advertisements and things about what? About interest and riba and ripping off people and, you know, that's the only thing you've been exposed to. Making business at the expense of others. The only thing you've been exposed to in high school is competition. The only people you've met are those who backstab, are those who aren't sincere, are those who want to use you, and those who want to be friends with you because you have a common purpose. But what we haven't been exposed enough to are good people, are pure people for the sake of Allah. And do you know the way we can fix that? It's by becoming someone who is pure. So that when you do meet people, you can actually radiate that. And wallahi, if you start to give and share and be sincere, Allah will allow you to change the lives of the people around you. You will be used as a means, as a sabab, to change the world, change everything. I mean, being very serious here. You really can. All it takes is one person that's kind, one person that loves someone for the sake of Allah, and their entire life can change. You can bring people to Islam by doing this. That's all it takes. One little bit of kindness. Someone that isn't trying to get another dollar off someone else. Someone that isn't looking at the time whenever they speak to someone else. Someone that genuinely cares. But it's hard. It's not easy. It's really hard to do it. Imagine talking to someone and they're disrespecting you in your face and you're still responding very nicely. Despite feeling the urge to do something, you don't. Doesn't that require strength? Doesn't that require willpower? Doesn't that require courage? Islam is not a religion that tells you to dominate someone who disrespects you. It tells you to dominate them with kindness. Even though you could dominate them the same way, you choose not to. That's true strength. True strength is the ability to lift off our blanket for Fajr prayer. That's what true strength is. It's not in how big or strong you are or how much you can deadlift. That's all good and stuff. But if you can't deadlift or bench press your blanket at Fajr time, it means nothing. Anyways, sorry boys, I took a lot of your time. Any questions or comments? Look, how about this? I'm going to wrap it up. And after we have questions or comments, we can have a chat, inshallah. We'll wrap up the video. Jazakallahu khairan, my brothers, for listening in. If you do have to go to class, I don't know what time it is, but you might have to go to class or you want to study. It's officially wrapped up. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.